Hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the another business application show where we talk about Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. I have my friend with me, so we both host this show, and this show is presented by CSharpCorner community. And let me share my screen here just to go through that agenda for today. Okay. So as I said that now from last couple of sessions we have been discussing about the Power Pages. So we started with the basic introduction of the Power Pages, and we saw how we can set up Power Pages, how we can create different layouts, how we can utilize liquid code, how we can write JavaScript, how we can create templates. So we discussed different aspect. We discussed about how to set up the security, how to set up a table permission, and then set up the web roles for the Power Pages. Right. So on the continuing on the Power Pages, today we are going to talk about the Web API. So how we can use Web API in Power Pages, and what is their use, and what are the different functionality we can implement using the Web API. Okay. So this is the high level agenda. So we will start with the basic introduction. Then we will see what are the different operations that we can use, with the Web API in the Power Pages. And then we will talk about the site settings. So we have, couple of site settings that we need to configure before we can apply, Web API calls, or we can do Web API calls. And then we will see what are the security aspect behind the scene and how the authentication works, and then we will show you demo on that how we can use this Web API. Okay, so before jumping onto the main topic, let's have a quick introduction about ourselves. Myself, Mahender, and I have my friend Venkata with me. We both are Microsoft MVPs as well as CSharpCorner MVPs. We have more than 10 years of experience on the Microsoft stack. So that's what our quick introduction, and let's jump into the main topic. Okay, so Web API. So we have been discussing about the Power Pages, that how we can build different type of website using the Power Pages. So we have a option that we can create a static website using the Power Pages, where we have the static content. So we can just provide basic detail, and we can fill the contents on the pages, and nothing is going to change there, right? It's static. Okay, so we are not bringing some dynamic information from table or some other places and rendering on the page. It's simple pages that we have on the static one. On the other hand, we have a dynamic website, where basically the content of the website change based on the context. Okay, so maybe in one page when you are seeing that your customer information, in another page you are seeing your customers case history, or maybe their opportunities, right? And you may have different type of options that you will provide on the every page depending on the requirement. Okay, so that's basically the concept of the dynamic website. And there, in case of the dynamic website, as I said, that the contents basically change based on the context. Okay, so which functionality you are performing for, what is the requirement for that particular page, depending on that the contents changes, right? So let's take an example, that if you are working with the customer information, and you have the page where you have rendered the customer form. So we can use the form that we have in the first party app, so we can utilize those forms to render on the Power Pages, right? So we discussed in our earlier session that how we can show that entity forms. On that entity forms, we have a requirement, let's say, to use some kind of read some kind of data of the customer. So maybe there are two fields. okay, and we want to perform some kind of calculation into two fields, or maybe we want to hide so fields based on particular field. Okay, maybe let's say, what is the customer relationship type. Based on the customer relationship type, maybe there are two or three field, maybe let's say credit limit, or maybe some address information or something we want to show or hide, right? So that kind of thing can be easily done using the JavaScript. So we can write JavaScript, we can write jQuery, and using those, and we can also utilize our Liquid to do that kind of validation. Okay, so all the data that is required for us for our logic to be implemented, that is available on the same page, right? But let's take an example that we are on the account page, but there are some other information that we need to read from a different table, maybe contact table, maybe opportunity table. And based on that information, we want to do some kind of modification on the customer page. Okay, so here we are talking about two tables, one account table and one is the referential table or the child table or the related table. It could be a contact or case or opportunity depending on the requirement, right? And based on that second table information, we want to do some kind of modification on the account page. In that case, we cannot use simple JavaScript. Okay, we have to use some kind of some mechanism where we can retrieve data of the secondary entity, and then once we have the data, based on the data we can perform our logic. Okay, so in those type of situation, the web API comes into the picture. So web API help us to query the data from the different tables. Okay, so we can if you are familiar with the Dataverse, or you are familiar with the Dynamics 365 first party app, just like there we can write web API calls to work with the different entity to collect the data, to create the data, delete, modify. So doing different set of operation that we can perform, those set of things we can also do using the web API in the Power Pages. So it allows us to do different type of operations on these tables depending on the requirement. Okay, so then is in this particular scenario, when we have the web API concept here, so it makes our page more dynamic, right? We can bring information from the secondary table as well. We can render that information. Maybe if we want to render that information on the table, we can do that, or we want to perform some kind of logic, that can be also done. So that's what we have here is the web API. Now, so we are saying that web API, now we have that. Now what are the different type of operation, what are the different type of methods that we can perform in the web API, okay, using the web API into Power Pages. So here you can see on that we have these set of operations. So mostly we call it CURD operations, right? All the CURD operations can be done using the web API. So we can perform read operation. So if you want to read data from the related table or non-related table, depending on that requirement, you can use that read option, read operation, and the method that we use is the get. Okay, so standard method that we have, when we want to call any web API, so we use that standard method here to retrieve the data get. In CRM or in the first party app or in the Dataverse, we use that retrieve or retrieve multiple, right? So those type of things that come into this category, get method, where we can read the data from the table and perform our operation. The next one is the create. So let's take an example that on the account, from the account web page, we want to create some kind of task, okay, or maybe we want to create opportunity depending on some data that we are collecting from the account. And based on the data, we want to create opportunity record, we want to create contact record, or we want to create task record. So those type of thing can be done using the post method, and it allows us to create the record for the table of the Dataverse, right? The next one have this update. Okay, So this operation is basically if we want to do some kind of update into the table. Okay, it could be a particular one row, or it could be a multiple row, or you can do this update on one record or multiple record depending on the requirement. So for example, if you have some particular GUID of a record, and you can use that GUID to update the data using the patch method. Okay, then we have the delete. Delete is basically if you want to totally remove that record from the dataverse. So that case we use that delete. We also use this for the disassociation. So for example, when there are two tables and we have related two tables using the relationship, right? So those set of relationship can be deleted using the delete option. So for example, one record is related to another record, and we have, let's say, 1 to n relationship, right? So when we have this kind of relationship in the one table, we set up the lookup, right? And that lookup basically is for the association between these two records. Okay, so for that, you can see here we have a post one that we use for the association, and if we want to disassociate that record, then we use delete operations. Okay, so these are the set of operations that we perform on the Power Pages, and using that we can do different kind of modifications, updates, deletion on the set of tables depending on the requirement. It could be that you want to update order information of the customer. It could be that you want to update customer information. It could be that you want to update opportunity records or case records, right? So now that simple question comes into mind, that when we have a page, right? Let's say, for example, we have an account page, and in that account we want to do some modification. We can update those fields and we can submit that, right? So that it will just save that account record. But what about if we want to do some kind of modification on the related entities, or maybe related tables, right? Or maybe let's take an example, you want to put some kind of custom buttons, and on the click of custom button you want to do some kind of operations. So in that case we can use this web API, and this is very helpful to make your web pages dynamic and perform different type of operations using that. Okay, so now, as I said that before, you can execute these web APIs, you need to do some kind of configurations here. So you can see on this table. So we have a you know there are in the model driven app that we have for the Power Pages management, there we have that site settings. Under that site settings you need to do these setting so that you can perform the web API action. So first you need to enable that. So for example, if I want to work with the account entity, then I need to write like this: web API account slash enabled, and then there will be value that I want to enable it or disable it. So if I'm setting it true, it means I can perform web API against the account table. And if I am setting false, it means I cannot do that, and I'm making it like setting it disable. So you can see here, this is the screenshot like for some of the site settings here, where we have this. For example, this one is done for that incident entity, like case entity. So similar to that, we can perform this to whatever entity that we have, we want to work with, right? And then we can also mention the set of fields here. So if you want to, use some particular field for that updation, you can mention those fields. Or if you want to say that, no, I want to, use all the fields, that is all the columns that is available into the table, then we can use a star here. Star means that it's going to consider all the columns that is part of this particular table, right? And then here we have this filters as well, that if you want to apply the data filters, or if you want to see that error settings, when this error is happening, you want to enable disable that inner error that is there. So these type of setting can be configured here just like this. So we can just write the name of the setting, and then we can put the value, what is it's like true or false, and depending on the fields, like if you want to set some set a particular field, or if you want to use all the fields. Okay, so those type of setting can be done on the Power Pages management model driven app. And once this is done, then we can go to the next step. The next step is the security. Okay, so you are going to access your table information. You are going to do some kind of modification on the table, but before doing that, you need to make sure that you have a proper rights, you have a proper permissions in place, right? You can see here we discussed this in the earlier sessions. There, that in the table permissions, we can set up that table permissions, we can provide that information that on which table you want what type of permission. So you can see here, so we can set up. So if you want to, let's say I'm just saying that I just want to retrieve it. Okay, so I just want to read it. So I can simply say read one. So read permissions means then I won't be able to do any other actions, like I won't be able to update it, I won't be able to create it, I won't be able to delete or associate these record with the other record. Okay. So depending on the what permission is set up here, you will be able to do that set of operations on the web pages. So we can select our main table here. We can do that kind of access here. And this is just an example that when we will go to that access types, we have different type of access that is available. That works like a level, up to what level you want to go. Okay. So we have discussed all these in our earlier session. So you can watch our earlier session that's there on the C Sharp live TV, or it's there on the YouTube as well. So you can watch all of our sessions there as well. Okay, so once we have these set table set of permissions are there, then we associate the web roles. Okay, so web roles are just like the security roles that we have in the Dataverse. So those web roles are basically assigned to the users, and then based on the web roles only, then it see that okay, what type of action you can perform on the Power Pages. Okay, so that's what we have here on the table security. So make sure once you have that setting in place, you set up that security and set up whatever security requirement you have for the set of users. Okay, now we have this security setup. Now let's talk about that how we can write the code for the web API. So there are basically two things that we need to keep in mind. The first thing is that when we are making web API call, there is basically we need to get that authentication token from the database. Okay, so for that, Microsoft has provided a web API wrapper, and you can see that this is basically that web API wrapper that is available here. This basically help us to get the token from the database. Okay, and this wrapper we can place somewhere. So let's take an example that on the we can create a particular web template, and we can put this web API wrapper on the template, and that template may be available to that complete our website, so that in any page when we will write our actual web API method to perform that set of operations like read, create, or retrieve, so we can utilize this token to perform those set of actions. Okay, so this is the web API wrapper that we need to put on the web template, and then after that we can write our particular request. Okay, we can write our get request, update patch request, or delete request, or associate request. So those type of requests can be written after this, and we will show you this on the demo that how we can write those set of requests. So if we want to conclude this, like okay, what are the main steps that is there, The first thing that we need to do is to enable site settings. That is very much required. The first step that we need to do. Once that is done, then we will set up the table permissions and web roles to make sure that the user who is going to perform those set of actions have the required permissions on the table. Once that is done, we can create a web template, and under that web template we can put this web API wrapper, which will help us to generate the token, to get the token, and after that we can write our actual web API request to do those set of operations. So these are the mainly high level step that we need to do. Okay, and now let's see this in the action. So I'm going to pass mic to my friend Venkat, and he will show you the demo on this. So Venkat, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mahender. Thanks for your explanation on the PPT. Yeah, so hi everybody. So let me deep dive into um, the presentation on the demo screen. Let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So hope you can see my screen, right?
Not yet. Yeah, it's loading now.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So the first thing what we have to do, right? So as mentioned in the last slide, first thing what we have to do, we have to create one particular page. So a page has to be created. Okay, and so in my example, just I have created a new web page. So just here, I'm going to here. I will keep it here as an create contact. So here in this demo, which I'm going to do uh, a demo, it is on the contact creation. So how I am going to leverage the web API so that within a small interface of adding the details of a contact, how I can save those details into the Dataverse. So just I will create this one as a step one. It is an add page. Here I'll comment at the start from blank, and I'll say that create the content. So you can give any kind of thing. So here my demo which I am going to show it is creation of the contact. So that's what I am going to give it. So that is the step one which you all know about this one. So after this one, the second step is we have to go to the page settings, and then have to go for the permissions here. So second one is the permissions. So in these permissions, which so this is the create contact. I don't want the users to log in. Uh, I don't want the anonymous users to simply create my contacts. Okay, so I want only the administrator and the authenticated users to do it. So for that, just I have created, so anyone can see the page, and I want to choose the who can see the page. So just I have selected admins and the authenticated users. Here I can also give the some other web role contacts, also custom web roles, like some kind of the supervisors or the managers who are present, that those also can be given here. So that's how that you can provide the permissions. So how you can go for this one is in the security part, go to that page permissions, and you can see it on the create contact. Just you can see the details of it. Next is the table permissions. So the third point here is we have to give the table permissions. Here we have the table is contact, right? So first what we have to do, right, we have to create one table permission for and enable this for the contact. So for that, what is that is being to need to be done. So in the create here, just specify the contact table permission, and then just select contact. And here the access type I am giving the global access. See here, one of the catching point here. So my intent was to perform all the operations on the contact rather than going for the different permissions. Two ways of doing it is you can enable all the permissions on a single one. Otherwise, you can go with the different permissions. Actually, in normal usage, what the user will be doing it is we will be creating different permissions on the same table, so that few people can only perform the create and few people can only perform the read and few people can only perform the delete and update, so that it will be easy for them. So for those respective users, these table permissions can be created. So for now, this particular demo, just I have created for this the table permission. So already an table permission is present, and then I have to select the roles, that is admins and the authenticated users only. I will be going to give it. So this is how you will be giving it. So if you observe right, just I'll open this. Contact global access, read, write, and update, append, and create and append to administrators and the authenticated users that I have given. So till now, what is that? If you perform all these three steps, so what I will get it is just I will a web page, and the web page will have the contact and it has the permissions and it has I have given the table permission. So if you observe here, right? Okay. So if you observe, I have given only access this the create contact one. This my web page create contact. I have only given the access to the authenticated users and the administrators. That is the reason why you don't see that particular page link in the navigation. Okay, this will only I will get it only if I click if I sign in, then only I will get this particular one. Okay, so now this the third point of the create contact is so the table permission is done. Now we have to go with certain other permissions as well. Okay, so for that, just we have to go to the advanced settings where we have to enable few of the site settings here. So the fourth point is site settings. For this contact table, we have to enable or create three new records in site settings in portal management app. Okay, so what are those records? So one is for the create for the contact. First we have to specify the entity, enabling for this contact, enable a site setting for it for this table or entity. Next is second one is we have to specify fields that are allowed for this entity, so that the API will bypass or will allow it. Next, the third one is the error setting that we have to enable. Okay, so we go back to here. This is my Power Apps management. So this is my website. So here I'm going to go to the site settings here. So first one is we have to create one site setting for the contact related. So for that, what we have to do it is we have to go for this one. Just I have created it. So first we have to specify this web API contact enabled. So here the catch here is in this example, just I showed my table name is contact. This can be your table name. Okay. So this is my website. Source is the table we have to give it, and value it should be true. So this is the one setting that you have to insert as a create a new one. And now the second one is like web API contact fields. That means the second point of it. So here what we have to do is we have to specify here the table name. Okay. So here the thing is I can specify like this. That means few fields I can specify it, or all fields I can also specify it. So here on the contact fields, that means the API will only allow if I give the value as a star. That means in the contact table, whatever the fields that are present, all fields will be available for this particular web API. But if you specify only few fields, then for your web API, that means if I am trying to read the values in the my Power Page web page, only these three values which are mentioned here, those only will be available here. So that's what the second one. And now if at all any errors are present, then we have to keep it this one, web API error, inner error. So this is a single time we have to enable this one. It is the web API error setting. Just we have to show the source and also the value. So if you observe here, so three values, one and then contact fields, and the third one. So the third one is common. So for any website, this you have to, if at all you wanted to enable this web API, and also if you wanted to specifically debug the details, any issues, then you have to just for one time in entire your development, you have to create this setting. But this first, the other first two settings, right? These are depends upon the table. If at all I have the account table, then I have to create web API backslash account and enable web API backslash account and the fields like that. So these site settings has to be enabled. Now coming to the fifth point, what we have to do it is we have to provide one particular uh, web template. So let me go back to the page, go back to the edit code. It will allow me to go to the my web page. Okay. So basically what we have to do it is okay. So helper. So you have to create one particular one web template, which you this is an predefined one, which will happen. So this particular code snippet, how what it will be doing it is it will help to authenticate. So what this piece of code, what it will be doing it, right? It will generate one particular token, and this particular token during the request and response process, this token will be validated. Okay, so that means if I'm clicking on this all the details, right, clicking on the submit, then what will be doing, right? This particular piece of code, this is already available in our Microsoft Learn. Yes, you can specify this one. What it will be providing is it will create for my web API what is the deferred, what is the token that is present, and what is for that particular token, what is the validity for it. So based upon that one, so if I click on that particular submit, right? So these particular some tokens will get generated. So this token, whenever we clicking on submit, this token gets validated by the Dataverse and also the Power Pages framework. If it validates and everything is fine, then it will allows us to create any record in the Dataverse. So So what you have to do it in a nutshell, just you have to go to the web templates, and then the web templates you can click on create one helper.html. You can name it at any point of time. So this is how, right? So why I have created this as a web template separately? The reason is it is reusable. We can easily embed it. So you can ask me a question, Venkat. So we are doing it in directly in this Visual Studio Code online one. Is there any way that we can directly do it in the site in this particular portal, Power Page Management? Yes, we can do that one. So for that, what we do it, we will go back to here into the web templates, and then we'll select here. Just we'll click on the new, and then give the name and website, and here we will paste that one. So I will show it here. This is the helper. In this helper, see just whatever that is present in the script which I am going to use it, it will be present here on. So what I am going to do, just you have to specifically copy this and save this particular template. Okay. So in our discussion, the fifth point, what we have to do, right? We have to uh, keep the to generate token for authentication. See, if at all, if we don't provide this one, right, we will keep on getting this 401 unauthorized uh, issue. So which I will show it also in the few minutes. Okay, so that was the fifth one, and now what the sixth point is. So the authentication part is done. Now sixth part we have to uh, do UI for data entry. That is for our contact table. So what is the thing what I'm going to do, right? I will be going to create three fields. One is to enter the email address, one email address, and first name and last name, and take these and one submit button. And this email address is nothing but an email field, and this is a text field, and this is also a text field, and this is a button. Okay, so on this particular click on this button, I am going to provide all these particular details of the first name, email, last name, and the email address, and it call it to the API, so that the record gets created. So for that, what is that I am going to do, it is going back to here. I'll click on this edit code. Okay, so what is the thing that you have to do it is just I have for look and feel, just I have given one style. I have added some style sheet here for the form, how it look like, and the label, and for the blocks and all, how it look like. That means for this look and feel, just I have given the normal some styles that I have given, which is normally you should be knowing it. The tricky point here is, so previously we have created one web template, right? I don't want it to simply copy and paste all this helper.html, this authentication related code every time in my web page. So for that, what is the thing that you will be using? It is, you can use this particular liquid template syntax, where include, you can specify this the web template name. Here the catch is, you have to specifically mention clearly whatever the name that you have given here in the web template. Okay, if there are some spaces out there, you have to specifically give that particular one, but that should be correct. After that one, just what I did, just I kept an form, and my form, and I have given the email, first name, last name, and submit. All these are the HTML button. Now this is the JavaScript one. So what I am going to do it here, right? So just I will give one particular demo here. like just if I am clicking on submit, you see that you just added a contact called Manikant. Okay, so how I can verify whether that has been created or not? I'll go to the advanced settings, go to the contact table. You see this Manikanta as this just now I have created it. Okay, so just now I have created it, so it got created and it is present in my Dataverse. So coming back to the code here, what is that we will be doing? It is just we have to frame this particular record. So as it is email, this is the text first name multi-line of text. Just I have to prepare one particular JSON object. For that particular JSON object, I have to provide this one, call the WebAPI helper function to create the record. So just we have to do it is what is the type here, and the content type is application JSON. URL is a underscore API context. So just I will show it here. What is that I mean to see here? So if you observe, if at all I get, if I was a logged in user, right, I can see this one like this, like in normal Dataverse or in Dynamics CE implementation. If you wanted to see the any data details, we have this API that we can see it, the total records that are present inside that particular Dataverse. In the same way, we can do this one. This is how we'll see that the API way of implementation. So what we have to do, data, we have to give it URL data JSON.string file of record. Success is a function. So just what I'm doing, right? I'm just doing it. I'm calling this particular contact, and then I'm providing these details. If it is success, the entity ID, I will get that entity ID. And if you go back and see here, so just observe here on the console where I am going to, after creation of this particular contact, just I will be getting the details. Okay, if you observe, contact gets created, and after creation of it, I got that particular ID. And if you observe here, go to the network and see it here on the contact. So what is the payload? This is the payload which I have given, and the response, just I got this one. This is the response that I have got it. This is the response I got it. First name I got it, and then the contact ID. So just I'm going, I showed this first name using this particular first name. Just I giving this one, just added as an another function is there. So just for that function, what I'm doing, right, just by that particular ID which I got it. So I'm just querying the Dataverse and get the details, that is API contacts. What is the ID? Just I'm selecting the first name only. If I wanted to select the last name, then I can select the first name and the last name, and then just I can show it all that you just added the contact called the first name. So there is an so here also there is, we have one beautiful helper thing that is available where we can simply create that one. So what is that one is, so we have this data was REST builder is present. What first we have to do it is, just it is an extension which is present for the IE and also the Chrome and Firefox. So first what we have to do it is you select your Dataverse one, and then what it will do, right, it will get the access token. It will ask for the login. If it gets succeeds, right, then a token gets generated and my Dataverse REST builder will gets created. So here I will see that new request. Here I will say that I will select the create, and in this create I have select the contact. I selected the contact. Okay, just I am going to select the details which I wanted to go for it. First name and last name. Okay. Now, so this is there important I don't require. So just so here that means I want I want these three fields that are required, which I am going to pass it. Based upon that, which particular table that I am getting. That means this all particular lines of code that I will get it here. If I go back to here and see the portal equivalent of it, I will get all these details. So just please fill in all the work details that are present. It is record, web API, safe Ajax, all these are details are present. Just simply you change these details, and you can also execute here as well. So here, so just here I will say that just while executing the code. Okay, these are text fields. You see this one, the details has been created. So now if you go back and see here, see Lakshman L has been created. Okay, this is how before you can easily test your code whether it is working or not by using this particular Dataverse builder. So what I have done, I have not done nothing, just I have configured what is the table that is present, like that. In the same way, you can also build for the update, delete, associate, for all whatever the things that are present. You can do it. If you have wanted to go for the C sharp code, that you can also do it for here. But as we are working and discussion on the portals, just I have given this one. So this is how once you are done, just you have to click on save, and then come back here and click on sync. So once this is done, just you have to click on here and click on the desktop. Okay. So just before closing this one, right, I will show you one of the error scenario where it will get hit is, so I will not include this helper class. Just I will save this one. That means I have not provided my authentication of it. So now I'll go in, I will click on sync. That means if there is an issue with your authentication token generation, then we'll see it what it is going to happen. You see this, you will get this issue. Web API is not defined. Okay, you will get this particular anonymous dispatch has been got it. You will not. You will get all this one because in create if you don't include this particular helper, then here the web API dot safe ajax you will get an one particular error. Okay, like this, another issue that you will get it is the 401 unauthorized one. For that one, for 401 unauthorized also, the issue is with your helper HTML. That is your one, your authenticated one, which was not correctly written here. So in this way, one can easily perform any operations by using Web API in the Dataverse in Power Pages. Over to you, Mahender.
Showing us the demo of the web API, and that's what we wanted to cover in today's session. So we will be back again with the new topic on the Power Pages. Thank you very much for joining us today. And as I said earlier, all our sessions are available on the C Sharp Corner live TV and YouTube as well. So you can watch our earlier sessions. And if you have any feedback or if you want us to, do session on a particular topic, feel free to comment on that and let us know that, and we can do the session on the same. Otherwise, we will be back with the new topic in our next session. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.